Privileged to be here, Left Forum 2011, and something is happening not just in the midst of the American empire in Wisconsin, something is happening in the northern section of Africa, in the Middle East. Latin America had beat us there, and lo and behold, in other corners of the globe. Let's give everyday people who have contributed to the radical democratic awakening a hand. They're going somewhere because folk can't ride your back unless it's bent. And it's been bent for too long. Much too long. We talk about politics and solidarity. We're not just talking about the present. We need to bring together the three dimensions of time. The past, the present, and the future. When I think of solidarity, I want to be in solidarity with Martin Luther King Jr. I want to be in solidarity with Paul Rhodes. I want to be in solidarity with Norman Thomas, Muriel Rukeyser, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, Philip Berrigan. Solidarity has to do with those in the past who are wrestling with the same question that we are wrestling with, which is, what does it mean to be a leftist? What does it mean to be progressive? Do we really have the courage to engage on a quest for the truth, understanding that the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak? And when you allow suffering to speak, all of a sudden, those Franz Fanon called the wretched of the earth begin to raise their voices. Poor people, working people, those wrestling with white supremacy and male supremacy, those wrestling with homophobia, those wrestling with imperial subjugation. They could be in Latin America, Asia, Africa. They could be in the Middle East. They could be in Central America, allowing their voices to be heard. Why? Because their humanity has been rendered invisible. Oftentimes they have been viewed as superfluous people who do not matter, who do not count. And to be a leftist in the 19th century, the 20th century, or the 21st century is to say, we are in solidarity with, namely, we just don't work alongside. We actually love those brothers and sisters. We care for them. We don't care what color they are, left, red, yellow, brown, or whatever. And we're going down fighting because we're concerned about their humanity. We want them to live lives in such a way that they can flower and flourish. And isn't it something that to believe that is to be radical? Can you imagine what the powers that be must be like? To believe something so simple as that? But that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with beginning with the catastrophic. To be a leftist is to begin with the catastrophic. To begin with those persons who are dominated, subjugated, devalued, demeaned, and marginalized. And to look at the world through their lens. And that means that we cut radically against the grain in the last 40 years, especially in the American empire, where we have been told lies. Unfettered markets generating self-sufficiency, prosperity, and justice is a lie. White supremacy is a lie. Male supremacy is a lie. Homophobia is a lie. Anti-Semitism is a lie. Anti-Arab racism is a lie. Anti-Islamic sensibility is a lie. We simply say we want to stand for the truth. Small t, you recognize we're all cracked vessels. But somebody's right and somebody's wrong. In addition to that, it is to say that we attempt to be courageous because we live in catastrophic times, no doubt. Our brothers and sisters in Japan, deep solidarity. The children locked into slavery, the women dealing with sexual violence. The gay brothers and lesbian sisters spit on in so many contexts. Black folk in America, in Central America, in Latin America, still taught to hate themselves and believe they have less intelligence and less beauty. That's ugly. That's a lie that hurts. It hurts deeply. being a leftist. You're talking about being a certain kind of human being, namely a courageous human being. And we've been living in catatonic times alongside catastrophic because there's so much sleepwalking going on. The numbing that is taking place, the indifference toward people, especially poor people and working people, with greed running amok at the top. Wall Street oligarchs looting not just the public treasury, but the the shadowy financial system generating billions of dollars when 21% of American children of all colors living in poverty and 38% are brown. And let us never forget our red brothers and sisters, our indigenous brothers and sisters. They don't need to be in the room for us to talk about their suffering. 1492 was the beginning of World War I for them, and it's been continuous ever since. That's a perspective to understand what it is to create an American democratic experiment in all of its nobility. Now, there are some noble elements to American democracy. I would be the first to say so. But there's some vicious, imperial, racist, sexist, homophobic, classist elements too that we have to be honest about. And we haven't had enough people to be courageous. Why? Because after the death of Martin in '68, and after the repression of the social movements in the 60s and 70s, feminist and anti-homophobic and racial and class movements, so many folk caved in and decided they'd rather be comfortable than free. They'd rather be well-adjusted to injustice and well-adapted to indifference than really be in solidarity with those who came before, the great forefathers and foremothers of all colors who said, we want to be courageous in our quest for truth, allowing suffering to speak, and in our deep love and care for those folk catching hell. And one of the challenges is how do we pass this on to the younger generation? We have got to highlight young people. Why? Because it's the young folk who have been in the vanguard in Northern Africa in the last few weeks, who have been willing to sacrifice to live and die for some grand democratic ideal in the face of U.S.-backed tyrannies. It's been the young folk who have been around to awaken. And the question becomes, how do we pass it on? Well, the first thing you do is stand cold. You look back, and you're in solidarity with Daniel Singers and Michael Harrington. I know Stanley Ryan was still around, but he's an older brother now. His brother's still around. He's an older brother now, yes. Barbara Ehrenreich still going strong with solidarity with Sister Barbara. 35 years of struggle together. Why? Because when we look at their examples, we see people who are rare these days, which is what? They will not sell themselves for the highest bidder. They won't sell themselves for a mess of pottage. They refuse to be sold. And everybody these days is up for sale. Nearly everybody's up for sale. That's the difference of the younger generation vis-a-vis when I was coming along. When I looked and saw Huey Newton, saw Bob Avakian and some other folk, whether I agreed with them or not ideologically, I knew they could never sell out. They had integrity. They had a willingness to test truth. They had faith. They were concerned about what they were talking about. These days, it's hard to find that. The younger generation is so hungry for it. They're so thirsty for it. What is all this talk about leftist discourse? How do you translate it into lived experience? How does it become real in my life? That's the question of the younger generation. I said, you can listen to a little Curtis Mayfield. Listen to some Bob Dylan. Listen to a little Bruce Springsteen. Listen to a little Aretha. Her birthday is on Monday. Why? Because yes, it's in the culture, it's in the arts, it's in the music that so many of our young folk are going to really be radicalized. And then they're able to engage in those subtle analysis of American empire and the military overreach and the 850 military branches around around the world and a ship in every ocean, and why it is in Latin America and Brazil, and why it is in Venezuela, and why it is in India and China presents a challenge to the American empire, and why it is that the Wall Street oligarchs and the corporate elites are sucking so much of the blood of American democracy in such a way that more and more people are just useless, superfluous, and they don't care, and they think they can get away with it because there's been no resistance of large scale, and they think in the end that chickens don't come home to roost, that you don't reap what you sow, that sooner or later what's in the wash will come out in the ranch, and we simply say in left form, we stand for the truth. People are simply going to take it generation after generation, echoes of the night thesis of Walter Benjamin when he talked about the catastrophe and the piling of wreckage upon wreckage of every generation. Look at the black community. Look at the brown community in New York City. Levels of unemployment, 30 and 40% for 45 years. And lo and behold, people's going, oh, we might have a new permanent underclass. Look again. It's already been here. Look again. They've been suffering all that time. Look again. We can be in solidarity at the deepest level if we understand that we need our analysis broader, but most importantly, our courage in place. That wears our hearts and our minds, but also our bodies. Our bodies. And that's what young folk are looking for. And that's what's exciting about the left form in 2011. We can't overlook the challenge of the younger generation, connecting past, present, and future, connecting the catastrophic, the catatonic, and now the catalyst. Yeah, and that's what we see in Madison, that's what we see in Columbus, Ohio, that's what we see in New York. We're going to see it April the 5th here in the teaching with Sister Francis, Fox Piven, and others. A catalyst is setting in. Those of us who've been at it for a long time, I'm down there 60 years old now. Should have been dead a long time ago. All the work we've been doing. 150 lectures every year for 32 years. I should have dropped dead a long time ago. Still going. Why? Because now a new day could be emerging. It could be emerging. Left forum will be part of it. Let us see, and not just in the American empire, in the Middle East. Be working poor in Israel, it could be our Palestinian brothers and sisters under Israeli occupation. In Latin America, against the oligarchs who've been ruling for so long, in Asia, India, and Indonesia, and look at all of the connections now between American imperial elites and the autocrats in the so-called Arab world, but it's really North Africa and some of them Arab speaking. And what do we have? We got Obama in the White House. Charismatic version of American exceptionalism with Keynesian neoliberalism at home and the liberal both the Wall Street oligarchs and the corporate elites. And the culture is full of decay with weapons of mass distraction. Nobody wants to zero in on the most crucial issues enough. But awakening is taking place. Left form is an integral part of that. Let us do our role. What a blessing to be here tonight.